Hello traders, this is a DAX recap video for January the 15th, and this in front of us is the updated chart that was posted before the open. Before we get to the trading opportunities, I will just say once again something about zones. Notice every zone is the same. These zones which have thicker lines are the zones from large time frames. Those are the zones that can be tested, as you can see, multiple times and still produce a reaction. That is something that happened today also. Now these zones that have this kind of yellowish color on it, I put that color to them just to emphasize the importance of that. That is something that is usually bottom or top of the range and so on. Something that is more important, so this zone here is more important than this or this. Now in my morning notes I said that market is testing this and that we should expect a reaction on both major zones, meaning this one and this one, maybe even a trip to the other side of the range. And now let's see where were the opportunities for today. So yesterday market reacted from the range bottom, and as you can see they started the move to the upside, got to about half of this range, and the other half was made in pre-market session. So from this line is pre-market session of today, and this spike here was the open. Now I know that many traders don't really want to step in front of the train, as they would like to say, and that is a correct way to think if that train is coming, from the bottom, if that train is, somewhere in the middle. But when you look at this, even here, you have to put some context into it. You have to put some context into it, meaning that market already traveled 200 points to the upside, and now they are basically opening at resistance. This first test here was at like 8:10, less than 1 hour before the open, and now all they did was to go fast into the resistance zone. And when you have a test and a shallow pullback, now if you want to fade this, if you want to fade this strong momentum, then you should fade it at the back end of the zone, not in front of the zone, because price was already here. And if you got here in pre-market, you shouldn't really be stopped, because fading this zone means that the stop is above the zone. But this here was a better place to do it, and I showed that on Twitter. So imagine now these buyers here that are pushing, and this last one group of the buyers here that are waiting for the others to push the price higher, and then nothing happens. So this here was our best chance for today. Short here at the back of the zone, and logical targets could be this. First zone to the downside, that was said in the morning note that this is an aggressive area of support when buyers can react on the first test. And they did react on the first test, but that reaction was really very mild, meaning that it is likely that this aggressive support isn't going to hold. And if you are short here, you could, of course, close here, grab a quickie. Basically it was a very quick trade for like 70-80 points, and don't think about it and just observe. Or if you are more patient, you could use another thing. You can use a fib, observe that this target is in confluence with 38.2, then you have at the back of this aggressive zone half back and 61.8, very close to the previous cash close. So you could have all that information while you're holding the trade, or even in front of your trading decision to just draw fibs. You could also draw additional trend line which could be very helpful for you, connecting these two tops. If you connect these two tops, and now magic happens. Of course, that's got nothing to do with magic, but it has everything to do with the confluence of the resistances, the horizontal resistance and this trend line resistance. So I also showed that it is the same trend line here, and basically we have bearish divergence here in this whole range. And note that while the price is inside this range of 200 points, inside between these two zones, we are neutral. Our bias here is neutral. We need a good break above or below for our bias to develop to something that is more bullish or more bearish. Now this trade, let's get back to this trade. So this trade could be closed here, of course, or you could close it somewhere in the vicinity of previous cash close using cash close or Friday low as targets and fib retracement. As we can see, 61.8 is really near cash close. So even this here was really a good trade, a trade for 70-80 points in less than half an hour. So banking here or here. And now when we observe what the price is doing, now the price is broken this zone and now getting back to it. You could also attempt short here. But note that at this position market already made a 100-point move. And we did have a smaller range yesterday and the days before in the regular trading hours. In the regular trading hours from yesterday we got just like 110 or so points, and this here was today in the pre-market. But this here was additional chance for a short here on retest of this broken zone with your stop above the zone and expecting to close here. So this was additional trade, not something that you must take at any cost, because it is, as I said, in the middle of the range. The price already traveled, but as said in the morning notes, reaction can maybe be even a trip to the other side of the range, because by this time here it is already 11 o'clock. And by that time you could argue that this here has every chance to be the high of the day. And if it is the high of the day, then range should really continue to the downside. And that could be your argument to take the additional short here, especially if you have a profit already and again close at this next zone or near next zone. So this trade is really nothing much. It's more like one-to-one risk reward, but nevertheless it is something that is an additional chance for us. And when we note this here chopping and the really very mild reaction again from the previous cash close, now price is testing Friday low, and we would get really a good long from here again, no matter it is tested. Yes, it is tested yesterday, but the range and the price would be exhausted by here. That didn't happen. Now we are observing, we are waiting here for the long, but we don't get a feel, of course, because a move died in front of the zone. And when the price starts to leave the zone, now you could attempt long here, but this really wasn't so easy to catch. If you draw a fib retracement, then you will observe that price went even below 78%, and that you could think and you could expect a full 100% reverse of this move and to wait here, and you didn't get a feel, and that is something that of course happen. So this here you could attempt long, but to be honest, the only textbook trade that we got for today was this shorting of this resistance right at the open. There's nothing to scared there. You have a trend line, you have a main resistance zone, and of course we are still in the downtrend, and this kind of fast move into the zone, into the support or into the resistance is often much better than this like grinding into it, slowly grinding into it, because slowly grinding into resistance could mean that they are attempting a break of that zone, and that they are not exhausted, and this was a final move of this whole exhaustion into it. And that was it about today's opportunities. Of course, you could get some smaller trades here. Also, you could attempt pullback on this zone, on the same place where this additional short trade is. This here could also be another short if you look at this move, and you will observe 38.2 retracement here, but and maybe to expect from here to have another leg down, maybe to this range bottom. That didn't happen, but nevertheless that move was good for like 30-35 points at best. So both of these additional shorts here were good just for like a one-to-one risk reward, maybe something better, and this here was really the trade of the day. Now back to the higher time frames. We already know what the DAX looks like. S&P going higher, while again oscillators are pointing to the downside. Nothing is really clear here, but they're pushing above, they're pushing this resistance. Netflix is the leader today, and it is moving Nasdaq higher. Russell is still pretty much sideways. On the daily chart, nothing here constructive happened yet. We are still in the range. You could observe this pattern here as an inverse head and shoulders, like my friend Matt from Germany said on Twitter that this could be an inverted head and shoulders. This is he and his chart on Twitter. And on the S&P, here are we. Looks to me like price wants to test the daily 50, as was said in the weekly video, and Nasdaq already was had a reconnection with weekly 50 today, and this can be useful to watch in the following days. Is it going to continue above and to drag the entire US market with it, or it could be a closing above and then next day, tomorrow or the day after, closing below and then maybe rolling over. We shall see about that. Russell still didn't reconnect, so Nasdaq is the only one that did that so far. And this is it for this edition of DAX recap videos. I wish you a good evening and a good trading.